Welcome everybody, back from my long 3-month hiatus. I'm G the Truth as usual. Welcome to my NCAA tournament selection special, I guess, as if you call it. So basically, I want to run down a couple of things from the selection show process tonight. The field, 68 teams. I have no arguments against whoever made the field. There's no, oh, this team should have been in, this team should have been out. You could have argued a few teams to have gone either way. Nobody would have been mad about that. Let's talk about a couple of teams in particular that didn't make the field. Like Washington. Huskies, man, I can't believe they've done this, but given the fact that the Pac-12 has been terrible all season long, they deserved it, man. They deserved the right to not be in the tournament. They have become the first team ever from a power conference since the tournament has expanded to 64 teams in 1985 up into 68 in 2011 of last year to not make the tournament as the regular season champion. Well, the reason why he didn't make it, it's simple. They beat nobody in the top 50. And when you beat nobody in the top 50, it doesn't matter about prestige or brand name. Screw that. This is not college football. This is not the BCS. This is college basketball. You show in a regular season that you can't beat anybody, well then, hey, that's one strike against you. And the next strike they had against them was in the Pac-12 conference tournament. As the regular season champion, number 1 seed, they had Oregon State. They had 4 opportunities to beat them, 4 free throws from Tony Roden, and out of nowhere, bam, miss, bam, miss, rebound, foul. Okay, they missed 2 free throws from Oregon State. Roden gets the ball back. He gets fouled again. He misses another 2 free throws. If you can't show in the clutch that you can make free throws against Oregon State, a team that will not be making any tournament appearances anywhere this year, NIT, CBI, whatever postseason tournaments they have going. You can't beat them in the first game of your conference tournament, you don't have the right to be in there. So Washington, they deserve to be out of the tournament. It's not about brand name. The Pac-12 was the worst conference of the power conferences this year, and there are other conferences such as the Mountain West, Atlantic 10, and hell, Conference USA played better than the Pac-12 this year. So Washington deserved to be out of the tournament. Another team that was out that could have been maybe disputed here and there was Mississippi State. Mississippi State started strong this season, but they faltered down the stretch, and when you're playing in the SEC, specifically the SEC West, when there's basically no teams in that division, and you play them twice, and you can't beat them basically every single game, then hey, you've earned your way to be out of the tournament. And their thing was they didn't have a lot of quality wins neither, so Mississippi State go play in NIT, and that'll be that. Now to the teams that made it in, that was kind of iffy. A team like Iona, albeit I didn't hear of them until a couple of days ago, and actually when I did some research, all right, them making the field is fine. We're not looking at brand names, so let's take the brand name away from them. They have few quality wins, albeit their strength of schedule was not good at all. It was like 121, I believe, somewhere in that range. So it was a shock that they actually made the field, but hey, we're not looking at brand names, so hey, they're in the tournament, but they're going to be playing in the first 4 against BYU. Both 14 seeds. Didn't think BYU would be in the first 4, but at the same time, it's not a surprise because, face it, they did move to the West Coast Conference this year, but they didn't beat anybody. They didn't beat St. Mary's. They didn't beat Gonzaga. So they had, and then the problem with them, they had no quality wins neither. They was beating up on weaker teams, but because of the number of wins they had, and the fact they didn't have a lot of bad losses, it was enough to barely get them into the field. But I thought they would have been surely locked in the field a little bit higher, but well, it turned out they were one of the bubble teams in the field, so I have no arguments against that. So now we're done with the bubble teams. Let's get to the possible upsets this tournament that I have. Just got them filling out my bracket not too long ago, and this is interesting. Like some of these first round matchups, there are not a lot that stand out in terms of, I got to sit back and watch this. This is a must-see game. But there are some that I have in my book as first-round upsets, such as VCU defeating Wichita State. I don't think VCU should have been a 12 seed, to be quite honest. VCU to me was maybe more of like a 8 or 9, maybe a 10, if people want to push it or not. 27-6 in the season. Better record than last year. The only thing is that they just same thing with them. They kind of did schedule a little tougher this year, but they didn't really beat a lot of teams of substance. They beat George Mason in conference, Drexel, beat them for the conference title. But at least it wasn't an argument as opposed to what it was last year about them getting into the field, in which everybody was angry. As it turns out, all of us were all wrong about that, and they made the Final Four. So it goes to show you anything can happen in this tournament. But I believe VCU will beat Wichita State. Wichita State, I've not seen much of them this year, so it's kind of hard for me to judge, but they've come out of nowhere. So it's I'll take VCU, not just off of what they've done last year. I've seen VCU play a couple of times this year. A player to look out for from that team last year, Bradford Burgess. Can shoot it from the outside. He can rebound. He can do the little things. So I think with him, and if they can get some good point guard play, I think VCU can go far in the tournament. They could shock some teams. Make a run in the Sweet 16, give Kentucky a run for their money, here and there. Even though I don't have them winning that game for VCU, I think Kentucky should win just off of their size and their great point guard play and their up and down style. But I'll get to Kentucky a little bit later. I also have Colorado upsetting UNLV in an 11-6 game. That's in the South region? Yes, that's in the South region. Now, I just saw Colorado finally play for the last couple weeks. They do have this freshman to look out for. Spencer Dinwiddie can shoot it from the outside. He's come along in the last couple of weeks. Colorado, kind of with them moving into the Pac-12, there was really no expectations for them. They've been a good home team this year, but they've been iffy on the road. But they came together in the Pac-12 tournament, 4 games in 4 days. Albeit, again, Pac-12 this year was more like a mid-major conference, but any team that can run 4 days, 4 wins in 4 days, hey, they have my respect. And I think they should kind of be considered as a threat for at least for the first game. And with UNLV, they're iffy. Every year, you never know what they have. I like Mike Moser. Mike Moser is a decent player. But to me, there's not enough there for me to believe they can go far in the tournaments. That's kind of a toss-up game, so I'll take Colorado as that being an upset. And they'll end up playing Baylor in the second round of the tournament. Not the third round like they want to promote it this year. The first 4 does not ever count as the first round, in my opinion. The first 4 is just a way of playing into the tournament. You win that, okay, then you're in the real tournament. Nobody's going to remember you for this unless you get to the Final Four like VCU did last year. But that's something we'll see down the line. Also, as a possible upset in this tournament, California, possible. I have them beating Temple in the first round. That's going to be another playing matchup. California did somehow get into there. That's because they lost in the Pac-12 semifinals, so they'll be playing South Florida for the right to play as the 12 seed in the Midwest region. And I've seen them play once this year. I was given the fact Mike Montgomery can coach. He can coach. He's a good coach. He can, coach up anybody. I've seen Gutierrez. Gutierrez is a nice player. He can drive, create his own shot. Also, he's the Pac-12 Player of the Year this year. So I think just off of that, they can get a couple of games in the tournament counting the first 4. They could beat Temple. Temple is just up and down, in my opinion. Now, I just don't think that they're up for the task of winning a game in the tournament. So I don't have them winning at all. So California is another upset in the 12-5 matchup. Also, I have Harvard being Vandy in the game I like to call the Nerd Bowl. That's the Nerd Bowl, 12-5 matchup. It can go either way, but I think Harvard style, Tommy Amaker, slow it down. The Ivy League style, they're going to score low. I don't think Vandy can adjust that style. I think Vandy will be one and done again this year. Sorry. And I actually have Harvard going to the Sweet 16 also, so look out for them. I think they can beat Wisconsin because that's the perfect matchup for them too. Wisconsin, they like to slow it down, so it's almost like they're playing into their style. That's a toss-up game too, and I like Harvard in this. I like the upset. It could go either way, but I like Harvard to get to the Sweet 16 in the East region to play Syracuse, even though I don't have Harvard winning that point. So that's it in terms of actual upsets in this tournament. Now let's get to the Final Four. In the South region, I have Baylor. Baylor will beat Kentucky in the Elite Eight. And the reason why is because games aren't written on paper. Championships are not written on paper. I could see Kentucky slipping in an Elite Eight. Why? The thing that nobody ever talks about when teams win championships, experience does kind of matter when it comes down to it. Yes, they do have Terrence Jones and Deron Lamb back from last year's team. They do have Darius Miller Sr. But something tells me at some point that the immaturity of Anthony Davis as a center, which is still kind of weird because he was 6'2", now he's 6'10", grew 8 inches. With him being a center, this is the biggest stage he's been on. I could see him kind of, losing his focus, losing his grasp a little bit. I could see them getting 3-point happy, like, oh, we can just shoot our way through to the national championship. I see this as a slip up with Baylor because Baylor is very underrated. Problem is they can't win a big game mysteriously. Albeit finally they proved it against Kansas they can win a big game in the Big 12 tournament semifinal. But I like Perry Jones III. Perry Jones could easily, if he comes out this year, be a top pick in this year's NBA draft. I like his game. He can do a little bit of everything. Slash, post up a little bit. Dunk. He's basically like an athlete. He's not good at one specific thing. I like his game. I also like Quincy Acey, the old man as I like to call him. Nice solid player, nice rebounder, somebody who'll knuck and buck with Anthony Davis if possible. And Baylor has some decent point guard play, so I think Baylor has a shot in that game. I think they can win. They can get to the Final Four. And then in the West region, I have Michigan State blowing all the way through the West. Albeit, the weird part is I think their toughest game will come in the second round when they play Memphis. Yes, Memphis. Memphis is peaking at the right time with the Barton brothers, with other great players like Witherspoon, Tariq Black up front. I mean, they have some size. They have a little size here and there, but they're more of an up and down team. Don't know if they can really play a lot of defense in some of the games I've seen this year in the Conference USA tournament. But I think Memphis will give Michigan State their toughest game of the tournament. State will have to earn that game. But other than that, it should be an easy road to the Final Four. And I have Michigan State being Baylor in the Final Four to get the national championship game. To go on the other side of the bracket, the East region, Syracuse. I have Syracuse being Ohio State. And that will be an interesting game. Contrasting styles. Ohio State can go up and down on the floor, but I think they'll try and make this a physical, down-tempo game, a grinded-out game. I think Syracuse can play both ways, and Syracuse in that vaunted 2-3 zone. With Fab Melo's size, I think he will dominate on Jared Sullinger. But I don't think it'll be a blowout. It'll be a good game. Syracuse will go out in the East. And in the Midwest, I think North Carolina should breeze through that bracket also. No difficult games at all. I have them being San Diego State in the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four. So in that half of the matchup, Syracuse, North Carolina. I have North Carolina winning. That's going to be a close game. That's going to be a dandy. Guarantee you. That's going to be an up and down game straight up. I think Kendall Marshall, he's gonna have a great game. He'll have at least 10 assists easily. But that's my prediction. We'll see if that actually happens. Assuming John Henson's healthy, him and Zeller will dominate on the boards. Then you have James Michael McAdoo. Look out for him. He's going to be the star player in this tournament. Not the star player. He's going to be the breakout player in this tournament because they're going to have somebody to replace Tyler Zeller next year. If John Henson goes, McAdoo will be right in to take one of their spots in the front court rotation. So the national championship. Wow, I never thought I would say this, but Michigan State, North Carolina again, man. State, I love State, man, but with Draymond Green doing a little bit of everything, the problem is they need role players to step up on a nightly basis, but you don't know who would be on any given night. It could be Brandon Wood, it could be Derek Nix, Adrian Payne. It's a flavor of the month thing. The problem is I don't think they have the depth to hang in with North Carolina, and North Carolina will unfortunately run them up and down the floor, and it will be a blowout again. And North Carolina will win their second national championship in 4 years, and your 2012 national champion is the North Carolina Tar Heels. If you have any comments, feel free to comment on the YouTube page, on the video that I have. You can follow me on Twitter at TheRealGTheTruth, DAREALGTHETRUTH. Have a good night, and the next 3 weeks will be fun as heck. Bye.